Not a lot. What's up with you?
Oh, we're live for VSG 101.
101!
101.
There's a freeway in Arizona, in the Phoenix area, called the 101 that I drive hours and hours and hours on every day, hauling around little human beings. So that's my 101 story. How was your clinic?
Oh, clinic was phenomenal.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Tons of of the pure officiating brethren to fellowship with and hang out.
Oh
with.
man, yes indeed.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Hey, our guy Jack Kuntz, by the way, is a Mountain West football official at the
Yeah.
line of scrimmage position now.
That's brand new, right? Tutan?
That'll be very new. That'll be about a week and a half new.
Ooh. There's always an interesting story behind the scenes when change is made that late. Hopefully it's positive.
Ish.
Congrats to Jack Kuntz.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Who else? What else did you learn?
We talked about on VSG probably 4 or 5 sessions ago. We talked about addition by subtraction. Daniel, Corey, and I were just really talking about how positive the room was with, and I noticed it specifically in the referees' room, with the subtraction of a few people.
New instructor. You had a new instructor this year.
Well, the instructor wasn't the issue. I think it was more of the membership of the room that we're talking about. So. Just really refreshing.
I never paid my dues, so I wasn't really a member.
That's funny.
No, clinic was great, man. It was so cool just being around everybody again. I don't know.
Yep.
I love seeing everybody.
That was the best part. Hands down the best part.
Yep.
It's always really reinvigorating, right? To get off that weekend, and now you got your schedule, right? And you can start planning all the logistics.
Plane tickets.
Yep. Plane tickets. They're fun this year, boy. You bring them up to, and you become used to what certain places cost. You pulling up this year and it's like, what the hell is going on? So,
oh, geez. Maybe that's what I need to do while you guys are doing this session. I'll just search. I haven't looked yet. Maybe I'm scared. I think I'm scared too.
One of the cool things, Brandon, that you missed was since we didn't have an in-person clinic the past few years, the whole rookie song and dance thing. Well, we had 3 years worth of rookies song and dance to do.
Wow.
But it was fun identifying all the VSG members that were up there. Like, oh, that person went to camp. This person went to camp. So it was really fun to watch them perform. And as usual, the performances were not
abysmal.
They were terrible. But, they were entertaining. So that's all that matters.
Yeah.
My class did Friends in Low Places, so.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty good.
Wait a
We
second.
heard that this weekend as well.
class
Yeah,
was
we
that?
did hear that one. Yep.
But
2013.
Well, no, we did Friends in Low Places in 2012.
Oh.
I thought.
Oh. I don't know.
Were we in? Well, they did that one, and it was so bad that Mr. Byron Boston provided commentary. I don't think he's ever done that before.
Yeah,
I don't think he's ever provided commentary. So he felt like he got up, pursued the microphone, and made a comment about how bad it was. So it was special.
All right, well, enough.
It was fun. It was fun.
This was a game. This was a play from a game going on. I didn't see the game. I was at some other game. I wish I would have been watching this game. So this is kind of a sequence, and play one. This is going to be just a solid double action call. Nothing really to analyze too much here, other than just how good of a call it is. Obviously, we wouldn't really want to, let this go to replay and need to be corrected. But it's a solid call at a big time in the game. So obviously, the ruling on the field is the runner is short of the goal line. Double action inbounds. We kill the clock, right? Why do we kill the clock? It's a first down. Okay, so we're late in the game, and the offense is losing. I believe the offense was down by 4. Yes, but then look at this. There's an injured player. All right, so there's an injured player. So let's just kind of set all this up. And the crew, you're going to see the crew. There are 2 officials come walking in towards the middle of the field right before the Player gets up, emotional, and you can see the crew also getting together, which I assume is discussing clock status. So TV cuts back to a replay of this great call, double action short of the goal line. And when TV cuts back, look at what's happening. So the play clock is going. See that? Play clock's going. Game clock is stuck on 154. And then, of course, we have a false start by the offense. So, okay, so that's the situation. So we can go with what we've been presented, and then we can kind of what if this, if you don't mind, because I'm curious to get your thoughts. So the plays, this is now we're looping back and we're going to see the original play. So if we have double action short of the goal line, that can really only mean that we're in bounds, right? First down, in bounds. We're not even really threatening the sideline here. So then we have an injury, and the injury is of an offensive player under 2 minutes. So how, if any, does this impact the clock status?
The injury doesn't impact it at all.
Right. Okay.
We're not under a minute.
We're not under a minute. We're under 2 minutes.
Now, this deep wing, he's signaling kill the clock, but I mean, we assume he's doing for double action, which seems fairly obvious to me.
The ruling on the field is short of the goal. I mean, it's a great call.
Are they putting him out of bounds? Is that maybe why they're?
See, then you see them coming in, twirling their finger, and then there's a big crew discussion.
I think they were snapping
their fingers.
They were snapping their finger.
They were snapping their finger,
which is annoying. I hate that mechanic or that signal for on the snap because you can't tell what they're doing. Obviously, you thought they were twirling. I think they were snapping.
I always cross my arms in front of me.
It's so much different. Me too, Corey. It's so much different than the finger twirl. So that's an immediate improvement. I think we could all get around. But you agree, if he's down at the 1, which he was, then it's got to be inbounds, and it's even though it's a first down, the clock would be on the ready. Is there anything we're missing?
That's what I was wondering. How could we possibly? What could be a scenario that would have us go on the snap?
Yeah, because if you look at the start, we have 1 timeout by Iowa, 1 timeout left for Iowa, 0 timeouts for Kentucky, and then when we get back to TV, it's the same. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page that like the injury rule, the 3-4-3 rule, we don't want to cross those paths, right? Have you ever heard people try to do that? Like, well, it's a team A injury, so somebody has an option. No, that doesn't really apply.
The first thing I was wondering is if Iowa called the timeout to preserve as much clock as possible, but they didn't do that as long as the bug is correct.
Right.
And then I thought maybe did we have a foul on the play, but I don't see anything like that either.
No fouls, no nothing. Just double action short, injured player. So, I mean, okay, injury by the offense. So we're not under 1. So we literally, it's a hard and fast rule, right? Play clock goes to 25.
Yes.
Okay. And the clock's what the clock is.
Yes. We should be winding it up.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page there. So whatever happened with the crew, and let me ask you this. What if they had to burn a media? Does that impact anything?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely no bearing.
Media timeout has no bearing on the clock. So here's Tuta. Here's me when I get clock status from other officials, which we're always grateful for. It seems like officials want to tell you right away, like, hey, out of this injury or out of this media break, we're going to be hot or we're going to be on the snap or whatever. Mm-hmm. But nobody tells you right when we're about ready to put the ball in play, which is funny. So to me, I always make a mistake on those 2 scenarios: is out of an injury, which is maybe prolonged, and then out of a media break. So I guess I would always advocate for that communication to come. Early's great, but later is better. Closer to when we're ready to put the ball back in play.
See, in those type of situations, I try to do it both. Initially, and then if it's prolonged or it's a media break, just get on the 0-2-0, or if you're within earshot, say, just remember we're on the ready coming out of this.
Yeah, for sure. Do that last reminder, and it would be my preference, anyways.
Well, and then even if we get to the point where we blow the ready for play, now we're down to 15 seconds. That's 10 seconds someone would hopefully we would have the awareness on the field to say, "Hey, Brandon, start the clock."
Yep.
Yeah.
Or wind the clock or whatever.
Exactly.
And it's just apparent. It seems like we just got confused because it was two different officials at least that thought we were on the snap and not on the ready for play for whatever reason.
Okay. So that's a snapping the fingers gesture. See, I don't like that either.
I can't.
It looks too close to that other twirl of the. So let's cross our wrists, or twirl the finger, or forget twirling the finger, like twirl the forearm. You know what I mean? Like a windmill almost. All right, now let's go here though. Let's say that where do you want to go? Do you want to talk about this false start, or do you want to put the injury under one just to clear that up, or not, or does that matter?
Let's do it. Let's put the injury. Let's deal with the injury first before we even go to the next one. Let's put it under one and see how that affects what we did or what we should do.
So let's say that we're not at 155 with the clock. We're at 55.
Correct.
So now what? How do we deal with this injury?
Well, what stopped the clock? That'll be the first question you need to ask yourself. Did the injury stop the clock, or did the result of the play stop the clock, or something else stop? Let me not say the result of the play. Something else stopped the clock.
You gave it away.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's the rule? The injury has to be the only thing to stop the clock.
That's correct.
That's what you're trying to say.
Weirdly. That's correct.
Backwardsly.
Well, I was asking a question. Just, you got to talk. Sometimes we talk to ourselves on the field. At least I know I do.
Yeah.
And that's the question we need to ask ourselves.
All right. So nothing would change is what you're telling me.
No.
Since the result of the play is a first down, that's a clock stopper. Injury was not the only thing that stopped the clock.
Unless, and that didn't happen in this situation. Let's say we have the first down, get the players to the line, because I think we had this in a game last year. Get the players to the line, wind the clock up, and then all of a sudden the wide receiver cramps up or falls down or something. Well, now, even though we haven't maybe even gotten totally out of the huddle, that injury would stop the clock had we wound the clock back up. Got it.
Correct. And this was New Year's Day in Florida. It was a hot day, if you remember, which you guys do. Yeah, what if unfortunately, my son's been talking about vomiting during conditioning drills lately, which is always appetizing at the dinner table.
Time out. Are they doing conditioning drills in tennis?
Absolutely.
What are they doing? Like, give me
an example. You run lines, or you run like you pull the nets back and then you run all the way across the 5 courts.
Like suicides.
Yes.
Yeah, he would vomit. I would vomit off of that.
It's real when it's 120 on the courts, or if not hotter.
Oh, jeez.
So that would be an injury timeout if a wide receiver, let me ask you, because we've seen this. So players snap is imminent, somebody vomits.
And we normally just ignore that. It's just gross and disgusting, but we just ignore it. Now, I'll tell you a story, Brandon. It's funny you say that. I'll go all the way back. I was working high school football. This had to be 18 years ago. It was extremely hot. And they had a long game, and one of the running backs stopped behind all the offense, ran up to go to the line, and this dude stopped maybe 20 yards back and threw up. It was extremely hot. I stopped the game because I was like, we're not going to have an issue with this. This dude needs to have somebody evaluate him or at least go out the game. So in that case, I would call that an injury timeout. But if everybody's just all at the line, dude just vomits while he's standing at the line, he's just still ready to go, I wouldn't.
What if it makes it look like a false start? I think I'm shutting the game down and saying this dude needs an evaluation. It's an offensive injury. Wouldn't want them to have any clock advantage there.
Right.
Like if the play clock's down to 1, I'd probably just say,
point.
okay, we'll just start it on the snap.
Correct.
But it's interesting. Okay. Well, okay, so the injury doesn't matter. Mr. Pelosi says he doesn't look injured to me. The way he hops up, I think, is what he's saying. And
right.
That's fine. But we know that we don't get involved there. Okay, now let's say this. We're back in what we see. 1:55 on the clock. Okay, and we actually did start the clock. So let's say we started the clock, it's running, and now we have this same false start action by the offense.
Yes.
How are we going to be prepared to handle that? right? So 154 is what I'm saying, and we actually do. We start the clock on the ready for play, like it sounds like next time we would want to do. Okay,
Yep.
Get better. And now we do have the false start. So that would, that's something that I don't know what it would be at. I mean, we can put a clock to the play clock. Let's say it stops the clock at 145 or something. How do we handle that? Not everybody at once.
We're gonna throw the flag and then kill the clock, so that we can report and administer the foul. And then I think what you're asking also is, what are we going to do with the clock when we come back out of that foul? We've got a foul by team A, who's losing in the ball game. The status of the clock was running, right? We said we were running the clock. We did this thing right. So what do we do next?
So 3-4-3 would not apply
Because
team A is not ahead in the score.
Because team A is losing.
Nice.
Or the game is not tied.
Oh yeah, that's good to remember that.
Yeah.
All right, so we I think we covered all our bases there, right?
Yeah,
so
we just wind that mug up, and obviously it's not 10-second runoff because we're not inside 1 minute.
Well, that's the only other thing we could do, similar to what we did with the injury.
Correct.
I guess we just did that. You just did that unceremoniously.
Well, unfortunately, I didn't do that week 3 last year, so and it was a false start.
Yeah, we saw that.
No, you didn't see it. Don't pretend like you did.
We saw it this weekend, is what I meant.
Oh, geez. Are you serious?
Yes. I don't. Yeah.
Why are we all looking at that in the deep?
Well, that's another conversation for another time.
Wow, maybe it was a false start.
Maybe we've got incompetent referees running football games. They got to up their game.
We had a whole section on 10-second runoffs that some of the group had.
Nice. So good point. So even if we did everything the same, except we took that 1 and turned it into a 0 on the game clock, we should have wound the clock, it sounds like. And now if this false start happens, boom, we're into 10-second runoff. How are we going to handle that though? So, so Kentucky's out of timeouts, right? Kentucky's the offense.
Yep.
So are we just going to automatically run 10?
No, and that's a great point. Because Iowa may want the 10 seconds to stay on the clock.
Maybe right. Especially if they're going to do something like weird that we've seen, is let them score or something,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think Hayden Fry, who's not at Iowa anymore.
I was about to say, Brandon, that's like 9,000 years ago.
I don't think a Hayden Fry legacy would let anybody score, man, in the cornfields of Iowa. I don't think so.
What are you talking about?
Hayden Fry, it's like 30 years ago.
Right.
His influence is all over the state of Iowa. Come on. This coach is pretty good too, by the way, at Iowa. Although I don't remember his name off the top of my head.
Kirk Ferentz.
You might want to know his name, Tuta. I don't know how that.
Just told you his name, Kirk Ferentz.
Okay.
Longest tenure coach in Division I, I believe.
Oh wow!
Probably so.
Oh nice.
Oh nice. That's cool.
So definitely if Kentucky false starts here and we turn that we turn that 1 into a 0 on the game clock would be running because we talked about why out of the injury. That would qualify for 10 second. We don't just want to automatically go since Kentucky's out of timeout, since the offense is out of timeouts. We have to ask the defense, right?
Right.
They're probably going to want the 5 yards, obviously, but they may want to decline the 10-second runoff. So now we're on the snap. Gotcha. But they may want to run 10. And then if they run 10, we're on the ready. And Kentucky can do whatever they want with the clock if it's running.
Can they decline the 5 yards but take the 10-second runoff?
I don't think so.
The answer to that would be no.
They may not.
Oh. Okay.
You must accept the penalty in order to enforce the 10-second runoff.
Correct.
That's an interesting rule.
So here's an interesting. Let's layer this on there, Brandon. I just thought about this as we're watching it. Let's say we do have a 10-second runoff for the injury, and Team B says absolutely run those 10 seconds, and then we get to the line, and then they false start. We should not assume that Team B still wants another 10-second runoff and just automatically go and do another 10-second runoff. Let's check with Team B every time in situations like this when we're really close to the goal line. Team B is down. We don't know what they're definitely going to do. Let's check with them every single time.
So Walt in the chat asks, can replay come in on this play? And I'm not sure. I mean,
I think
obviously
we could collaborate. I don't know what will be reviewable.
You're talking about the clock, maybe?
That clock is not reviewable.
No. We've got no issues with the spot. Unless for some reason these guys are saying he was out of bounds. And see, this is the one we want to make sure of. You ruled double action, which means you ruled him down short, which means him hitting the pylon means nothing, right? In terms of out of bounds player. And I'm not saying that's what we had. I mean, I think he made a great spot with the double action spot short of the goal line, but we want to make sure everybody's aware. Just because we hit the pylon, that's a second action after the knee was down in bounds, making the ball dead.
But Brandon, that's a good point. We're assuming he's ruling double action.
Well, he's very strong. I mean,
sure.
It's a great spot. He's very strong.
I guess there's no way he could be ruling. He can't hit the. Yeah. I was trying to think of a scenario where there could be a potential that his double action spot could be wrong and it could be out of bounds by rule. But I don't even see it in this situation what that scenario could be.
Yeah. And that was clarified during the bowl season last year that would not be reviewable here unless it impacted the very end of the game, if I'm remembering.
Good point. Yes, that was the Cure Bowl, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
So a lot of good end of game. Corey, these are like side judge things, right? This is the side judge. I mean, a lot of good things.
Wait a minute.
Oh, you didn't like that, DY?
Easy. I don't, and here's why. Because you can totally have a false start with under a minute left in a game somewhere in the Mountain West and miss a 10-second runoff, and we can all sit here and watch this. We just did this scenario where, okay, let's change the 1 to a 0. And now what? And everybody's, it's a 10-second runoff. No, duh. Like, we got a running clock. Easy question on the test.
Right.
But that's it's the same principle that leads to us not winding this clock. It's the exact same principle. Like, missing the 10-second runoff may seem like a bigger deal, but it's really not. We've got 8 officials on the field. So I think as we're getting ready to start the season, like a great opportunity to kind of, I don't know if this is weird. We talk about like, they're kind of like the soft skills of officiating, but this idea of situational clock awareness, here's my fear. We all have things that we're primarily responsible for. Here's the fear. If I'm on a crew and somebody says, well, the side judge has the clock, I don't want you to think, back judge, that means you're not also responsible for the clock, because the very easy yet applicable cliche is, guess what? Everybody's getting tagged if we miss this, if we miss a 10-second runoff, if we don't wind the clock. That's really everybody's responsibility. So, yeah, totally a side judge thing, but don't for the community, don't let that communicate to you that if this happens, you're somehow absolved. And like you said, it was freaking hot, and it's been a long game. Who knows how the game went? We've expended a lot of mental and also physical energy, but we've really got to bear down and find a way to stay engaged and focused on these times, because this could be a huge deal. Who knows? I mean, this close to the game, this could be a huge deal. We just said, well, shoot, the defense probably doesn't want the time to run off. Well, in that comment is embedded the idea that the defense is gaining an advantage. So, anyway, sorry.
Hey, Corey, that soapbox made it flawlessly down to Houston.
Yeah, I tell you what, man,
wait a second.
You pay for that.
That was easy. Guaranteed.
Yeah, that was a good soapbox there. But Daniel, the side judge, we are the clock gurus. We should be the masters of that clock.
Definitely a guru for sure.
But we'll take all the help we can get, obviously. But side judges out there, own your clock.
I think that's a great point, Corey. That we should, as side judges, take ownership of the clock. But that doesn't mean that no one else can touch the clock. I mean,
you're
that's
exactly right.
ridiculous.
Side judges own the clock, and everybody else on the crew be responsible for the clock too.
That's absolutely right.
So absolutely.
Because, like you said, Daniel, and it wasn't. Well, it was a Big 12 assignment, if you don't mind, where there was the crew. So it wasn't in the mountain. It wasn't in the Mountain West.
What does that have to do with anything?
Well,
I'm just correcting him because I don't like him misrepresenting facts. And I just like to poke at Daniel because he poked me all weekend long. Brandon, you should have just seen it. It was very inappropriate the way he treated me in front of company.
The amount of affection and praise. The amount of affection and praise I showered on you this weekend was probably the greatest.
Minuscule. It probably was minuscule.
It's
immeasurable.
It was a truckload.
But no, the point is, okay, the side judge has the clock. Well, now we missed a 10-second runoff. Well, guess what? Well, first of all, as a referee, missing a 10-second runoff, I could give a F less about the side judge. Well, God dog, how did I miss a 10-second runoff?
Yeah.
I mean, I got to feel like the worst official in the history of the world. And you think I'm going to say, oh, well, side judge, that was your fault. You own the clock. Well, no. And we should all take that type of ownership of every single element of football officiating from an administrative standpoint. Now, I'm not talking about going look, as some referees like to try to call KCI and things like that. That's not what I'm talking about. But we need to own every administration aspect of the game from every position.
I asked a question about a fair catch signaler blocking. That's all.
Oh, that was you, Brandon? I'm sorry. I didn't realize that was you.
It had nothing to do with KCI.
That was a different play.
All right, play 2.
All right, let's go.
That was a good start. I like it.
Here we go. Yeah. Let's go.
Uh-oh.
I believe we were in the Bayou a while back. We're back. We're back in the Bayou.
Something happened. Something was cheating. There had to be some cheating going on if the Tigers.
All right, so this is in the category of blindside block, and then we've got a very interesting forward progress discussion to have. All right, so we are going to see once all this stuff ends up and the crew sorts this out, we'll get a replay, more close up. Let's evaluate this block first, talk about the forward progress stuff later. Number 26 of Texas A&M is hot. Okay, TV replay comes in. 24 of Texas A&M is receiving the block, and I don't know who of LSU is delivering the block. So go 26. Let's go through the process in terms of blindside block, right? So what's element 1?
Outside of field of vision.
Okay. Yep. Yes or no?
Such that he can't defend himself.
Oh.
Such that he can't use this a chat hole? Is that what I'm hearing?
Doesn't have the opportunity to defend himself.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's most definitely a chat poll.
Let's have a chat poll on, is this block delivered outside the vision? BIB. Outside the vision.
Outside the vision.
Unanimous.
Yes.
For those that are paying attention, we appreciate it. Everybody agree? Oh, sort of.
That's not going to help.
All right. So what do you guys think just on this outside the vision element?
All right. I agree with the group.
Yeah, I 100% agree with the group.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. All right. So now what's element number 2 that we think about?
Well, it depends if you're Daniel Young or the rest of the universe. Although I cannot disagree with Daniel Young's way of evaluating this, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I saw you put that in writing, and I just saw it like a week ago. It was in spam for some reason, which was really weird. So I feel bad I didn't respond, but I will.
Oh,
but the second part is just, is it forcible or not, right? Or everybody considers that.
Okay, so it is.
Or is
That's
that
the
the
second
third
part. I don't know. I mean,
I thought that was the second. Maybe that's the third part.
For me, the second part for me is attacking element.
Gotcha.
Although, and that's why I can't disagree with you, Daniel, I'll be honest, because you feel like force, there's attacking inherent in force, correct?
Yeah.
I
don't see no, that's right. I can't imagine a scenario where we say the block was outside the field of vision and it was forcible. But I don't know that he was attacking, right? Like if he cleans him up and it's outside of his field of vision, we're going to say it's foul.
Right.
Is my opinion.
Right.
Just me.
Okay, I'm glad we went here. So where does technique of the player delivering the block fall into this?
Well, that's really interesting because we do talk about technique, don't we? We talk about what we like to see, and clearly the team in white has been coached up pretty good on this. I think somebody, Corey, in our breakout this week called it a hallelujah block, which I hadn't heard, which I guess is the same thing. But they call it the praise block with the hands up, and it's really kind of more just a shielding action than an actively blocking action. We can see it on the very first block once a returner starts coming back this way across the field. This guy's really funny because I feel like he knows how he's been coached and he really wants to do the right thing here. But like at the last second, he's like, oh, I really want to hit this guy. Like it's such a great just kill shot. So I think technique certainly matters. I think if we've talked about a player using his hands to initiate and deliver the block is a really positive sign that it's not going to rise to the level of forceability we're looking for a foul. And this shielding or kind of praise block action that we see from the first guy is another great indicator of what we're trying to get players to do. Where, delivering this block with a shoulder and really exploding through the blockee are really good indicators of technique that's going to lead to a foul because most of the time it's going to end up as forcible.
The one thing that's kind of helped simplify me with the whole forcible and attacking elements of this is just simply, did the blocker absorb the contact? Because I think if a blocker does that, it's really hard to deliver a hit with force or an attacking manner. And, 26, he has great position, great technique. And if he just absorbs a little of that, I don't think we even stop by that. We just kind of blow by that and, may look at it like, okay, that's good.
We're not even having this conversation.
Correct.
Right.
So I think he was set up, but like you said, he saw just a prime opportunity. He's like, well, I'm going to take this. These dirty Aggies. We got to tell them who's who in the SEC.
He's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I want to do here. Do I want to give him my back? Oh, I'm going to explode a little bit. It's like he's got elements of both positive technique and incorrect technique.
It's interesting. I mean, to me, if he chooses to kind of, I don't know, this kind of a baby launch, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a half launch. It's like he knew he wasn't supposed to, but couldn't help it.
But that, to me, lessens the force needed to rise to the level of foul.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. You agree with that there, Mr. 10-second guy?
I do. But are we finished? Are we to the point where we're just determining if we have a foul or not, or are we just still talking about elements? Because you said it lessens the amount of force required. Needed. Yes. And I do agree with that. I'll stop there. I agree with that.
Yeah. So, then it's just going to become judgment. So if you do have it outside the field of vision, that force element is basically what's going to tip it over the edge if it rises to the level of foul or not.
Correct.
How do you break that down?
Well, just simply for me, I don't see enough force on this block. It's really close, but I don't see enough force to consider this a foul for illegal blindside block.
Just not enough force,
right? So he kind of hit the dude with his back. He really didn't do everything we would like for him to do, but he certainly didn't do everything that we don't want him to do.
He did enough of what he's been trained to do to keep himself out of hot water.
Correct.
Look, can you guys? I don't know. I'm the only one who thinks this is funny, I guess, but there's clearly an internal struggle going on within this young man.
Oh, absolutely.
Wanting to comply with what he's been taught and want to murder people out on the football field, which
he
I
ran
respect.
40 yards. He's like, man, this dude, I'm about to light this dude up.
Yes. He's like, after this play, he's thinking internally, man, I executed exactly what I was supposed to do, and it pisses me off.
Right. It's an empty, hollow feeling.
Yeah. Empty, hollow feeling. What has happened to football?
So how would you, this is everything you basically need to have this foul. Everything. Minus what you're saying is not forceful enough.
Correct. We need a little bit more significant.
Is there any is there any tips that can help us? I mean, this is our, I don't know if they kept talking about this. We talked about this in the spring. This is our, I think, most inaccurate category now. So, because I feel like this is probably a tweener. People are going to vote, and then they're going to change their minds, and then somebody's going to talk, and they're going to, and it all honestly might be irrelevant. We just got to be on the field and make a decision in the moment. But I mean, that's what study is for. So, what are the tips to try to help us to become as more consistent, more accurate on this force judgment?
I mean, I think for me, just using this play as an example is, I think what happens is when we were looking to identify blindside blocks, we are looking for that, we want to see how it happens. And so we're watching this player come from, multiple yards away, 10, 15 yards away. And we can get in a position where we predispose ourselves of what's going to happen, regardless of what ends up happening. And so I think in order to offset that, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. Just wait to see how the action ends up taking place. Because if we wait on this and see, well, wait, that player, he just kind of stumbled. He didn't go to the ground. Gosh, was that really forceful enough? Maybe that can help us. I don't know if that would help in every situation.
Yeah, and Ron put it in the chat too. Is like the fact that he really didn't even send the defender to the ground. Is that I don't think anything's ever going to be absolute, but we can use some of these tells to get us most of the way there. Is that one we want to hang our hat on, or?
I wouldn't want to categorically hang my hat on that, but I do think that's an indication of the degree of force.
It's like everything that we do.
Factor.
Well, most things that we do, where we're just assimilating all these different pieces of information into one decision, and
right.
I will say this. I don't know, Corey, if you feel this way, just because we've been in a lot of the breakouts together over the years, looking at this. I do feel like from a just supervisory perspective or evaluative perspective, when you're working for people, that a lot of times the lean is towards
calling it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I don't want to say winning question necessarily, but on those that are really genuine tweeners, I would just push back a little bit, Brandon. I feel pretty confident, pretty convicted that this is not one we want as a foul, but I probably feel that way about every decision I make. So I don't know if that's helpful. But on those where you have a room that's really split half and half, and you can see elements of why maybe it's not forcible enough, or maybe why it is, that we end up on the side of, this was really intended for guys to stop doing this. This is what we're trying to accomplish, is exactly what this LSU team has been clearly working on, which kind of lends itself towards saying it's a foul. Another tip I would say that's helpful to my brain, and maybe not necessarily anyone else's, but someone, who just uses language to help make sense of the world around him. The rule uses the term forcible, which to me, sometimes when we just say with force, like that's such a broad spectrum. Almost everything, every kind of contact has an element of force. It's just degrees in a continuum of force. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like that forcible in my mind lands somewhere on the continuum of force. And once the meter gets to that, and again, this probably doesn't help anybody else, but maybe somebody out there can relate to how I think. Once the force hits that meter, now it's forcible, and now it rises to the blindside block, because it can be done with force and not rise to the level of forcible. Because there's a little bit of force here. I mean,
oh yeah.
And this action, by the way, if the way he does the baby launch and kind of elevates and goes high, if he. Well, we could be thinking about targeting as well. We should be thinking about targeting.
With the way
yeah, absolutely. Well said.
That's why, I mean, I just think that, as guiding principles, if a player displays behavior like this, and by behavior, I'm not meaning like mental behavior or psychological, I'm like physical actions where he chooses this technique. So this is really technique. Then, that's to me going to put him at way more risk for a foul. I know we've already said that in so many ways, but understand if this was called, why it would be, for sure.
So Seth is asking about, and this I think is an interesting question. Can we use the same indicators as targeting? And I guess I will extend that question to: do we feel like the same degree of force required for an illegal blindside block foul is the same degree of force required for 914 targeting?
No, because you're talking about different body parts to me.
Got you.
And I don't, it just, to me, it's different because you're talking about head neck area. You're talking about, potentially into the body. But from an indicator perspective, you could almost, I think it's maybe more along the lines like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm talking about. His technique is leading me more to understanding the case for a foul here.
Right.
Even given the less amount of force that produces.
Right.
So, I don't know. Well, we really solved everything for that on that one.
Well, that's what we do every week.
Well,
give
keep
everybody
thinking
the
about
answers.
it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about this forward progress situation. So the runner is here, and I'll be interested to see if this was brought up at all. 33 is the runner, just in slow motion now. So there's contact here by 26. 26 is here on defense. Runner's going to keep going forward. So here's what I want to ask. Going forward, ball's out. And now forward progress is ruled. All right. So here's the thing are we working this principle of, we rule forward progress. So check me on what I'm about to say. We rule forward progress. And therefore, if the ball comes out after the ruling of forward progress, it mostly would not be reviewable, especially in this situation. There's obviously no line to gain involved. This is a change of possession on a punt return, right? Unless the reviewability of the play could come into play when the ball comes out simultaneous to or before the contact that produces the forward progress. With me?
Yep.
Okay. Here's where I'm struggling on this. What I want to pose to the group and the audience is 26 makes contact now. 26 makes contact now, and we're driving forward. Now another player comes in and makes contact, and we could very well be judging on the field that that's forward progress. The ball is out. All right. The ball is out in some sequence with all the rest of this. So this is more of a replay-oriented situation. If the ruling on the field is forward progress stopped, how do you feel about this from that whole timing perspective of, is the ball out simultaneous to or before contact, and therefore this could potentially become reviewable even in a forward progress environment?
Yeah.
Just simple.
We always tackle the easy ones, right?
Yeah. Can you go to the TV view, Brandon, while you do the screen share?
Yeah, it's just too small or something.
Yeah, it's really small.
Here we go.
There we go.
And we can loop it too, but yeah.
No, we don't need to loop it. This is good.
Let's reset it. Runner is here. First contact's going to be made from 26, but he's going to drive forward. And then somebody else is going to come in this way, which eventually produces a ruling on the field of forward progress. So
right.
Kind of, it's not frame by frame, but it's slow.
Here's the problem. At what point in time was forward progress determined by the on-field official?
Right.
There's no way for instant replay to know that.
It was about 10 seconds after the play was over, I think.
Well, correct. Now, it's clearly wrong. Clearly we screwed up. But that's not the point.
If you look at this shot here, 33 is continuing to move forward towards his opponent's goal line. And is it not indisputable before his forward progress is stopped? The ball's right here.
Yep.
Well, stop right there, Brandon. We've seen situations where runners are taken off the ground in a pile and still moving forward and push forward 90 million yards, but we've ruled forward progress because they no longer were in control of their body.
Good consideration.
Yeah, so I think that's why it's just really slippery. It's a really slippery slope for the instant replay official to determine how and when the covering official ruled forward progress stopped.
You're suggesting that subtlety of the rule making quote unquote forward progress reviewable needs to be much more obvious than this cluster of humans.
Absolutely. I think if there's literally no contact by the defense and the ball is out, or if it just the ball is just punched out cleanly with no like actual interaction between defensive players and the runner, then we could say, you know what, look, this is not forward progress. But any interaction between the runner, and this is multiple players, I don't think I would not be comfortable with any instant replay official attempting to determine that forward progress was not stopped prior to the ball coming loose on this play.
Really interesting. Really interesting. So now let's talk about working it on the field. Let's go back to the field because that's more interesting. Any tips? I mean, this is, there's a lot going on. There's bodies flying everywhere. There's a lot of really fast and large people doing all this action out here. So, any tips on this is a really good play to look at, in my opinion, but any tips on just working this play, from your position back here, Corey, from behind, right, as a side judge?
Yeah, I mean, we always preach to deep wings on a punt play to stay deep. Depth is our friend, and I think this is the one kind of the outlier where we're not going to have the best look. But because you can tell by this official's body language, he's got a high degree of uncertainty as to what really took place, and he comes in killing it. He's like, kicking team has the ball. How'd that happen? And even when he gets up and is talking to his line of scrimmage mate, you can just tell that. And I think we've just I think I heard it a couple times this weekend. Like, if you think that you're in a bad position, just take a step sideways, one or the other, or lean in a little bit. I think it was Walter was actually giving us that talk that, don't ever be straight line because, try to look around. And I think that's something, while yes, we are kind of tied to the sideline, we can take a step, to the left or to the right and see that and try to find the ball because we are in charge of forward progress. And yes, we don't aim to be super precise with these spots on a punt play, but we still have to have an idea of when that ball's dead. And so I think, looking at this now, I would just kind of take a step maybe deeper into the sideline to get a better look at that. And, I don't know. I mean, he's got such a massive humanity between him and the ball that it's going to be tough, no doubt about it.
Yeah, so interesting point. Look, if we come out and say the ruling on the field is the runner's forward progress was stopped prior to the ball coming loose, we're kind of into the conundrum that Tuta was having trouble with. If we come out and say the ruling on the field is the runner was down prior to the ball coming loose, that's a whole different replay arena. And now it does absolutely become reviewable if, we can overturn to a fumble with an immediate recovery. So it's very important how we communicate our ruling, right? Two-timing, would you agree with that?
Well, that's interesting. You're making me think here. Would you, as a referee, if you sense that the covering official is unsure as you come running down that, because we got to say something after this regardless. I don't care what we say. We got to say something.
Yeah, and we got a foul too. So
yeah, good point. So a flag was thrown on this?
Yeah.
Okay, so we do. All right, so we are stopping anyway. Okay, good. So how would you handle that? I guess to me, it seems like I would run down here and I would ask what happened. I would see the red player running out with the ball in his hand. So then I would just have to ask what happened. What are we ruling? Would you guide the discussion to down by rule versus forward progress?
Oh, I don't want to go that far, but I would want myself, anyways, to sense. See these arms pointing out. And the dude came running out with the ball. The dude had the ball. So this is called smoke. All right. So this is smoke on this play, meaning something is strange about what some people are thinking about this play versus what we seem to be ruling. It doesn't automatically, obviously, mean we're wrong, but if we can sense this might pose a question like, hey man, so what's your ruling on the field?
Yeah,
and even if you just ask, I've got, it's LSU ball or something like that. Because he actually points, calling official points towards the receiving team in terms of their possession.
Right.
So then if that's all we get just visually, I might ask, hey man, what's the ruling on the field? Because the kicking team came out with the ball.
Yeah.
And then just have a conversation in terms of, okay, do we have forward progress or down? Because the replay people need that for us to be able to have all our tools to get the play right. And what I don't really care too much because I'm not going to know, but I do absolutely want to be perfect on announcing the ruling on the field.
Would you make it up
based
yourself
on the
if you get
information?
nothing?
Well,
I
got to get something.
Well,
I got to get something. I got to get down or forward progress. I got to get that.
And what if you don't get either one? What do
flip
you
the coin? I guess. I mean, I don't know.
I think I will go with down. I think if we don't know, and the covering official really just said, man, and you don't get anything because I've had that situation. Yeah. I think I'm just going to say the rule on the field is the runner was down prior to the ball coming loose. Because I know that just because of what we just talked about, I know we can now allow instant replay to fix a mistake if we really have a mistake versus forward progress.
Well,
if he had forward progress, he's pretty sure. He should be pretty sure about forward progress.
Well,
down, you will be a little bit more confused, but forward progress is forward progress.
Okay, so let's just make sure we clear the air. If the ruling on the field is the runner was down prior to losing the football, in other words, prior to fumbling the football, the replay official has nothing on this guy's, no judgment here about if this guy stopped forward progress prior to this ball coming loose.
That's absolutely
the only
correct.
thing the replay official can do is judge, was the ball carrier indeed down by a rule prior to this football coming loose or not?
That's correct.
So replay official pretty much has to forget about this person and only evaluate the actions of the ball carrier. If the ruling on the field is runner down. If the ruling on the field is forward progress, now the replay official is absolutely evaluating this. And if he or she makes a judgment that ball's out before, contact by whoever, I'm just kind of doing the scenario where it's that guy only.
Right.
Then he is looking at the player delivering the forward progress. So that's why it gets so complicated and why it's our job to be very clear with our ruling on the field, right, wrong, or usually we're right or we're wrong. Usually there's no third option. So, All right. Well, this is fun.
Oh, yeah.
We put everybody to sleep?
I think so.
Oh, I hope not. I hope not.
All right.
Was that a beautiful field, by the way? You notice there's only one stadium in the entire world that has markings every 5 yards. The numbers are on every 5 yard line.
Yeah.
H goalposts.
They just thought like that.
Yeah, I always thought that was the Cajun, the Tiger fans were confused. Why is there so many, they can't, do the math between 10 yards. So they needed the 5 yard.
That's okay. Whatever the reason is.
And the administrators also didn't know. They don't they thought they were doing it right.
Yep.
In the eye of the tiger in the middle of the field. Oh man.
It always really annoyed me that it's every 5 yards. I'm just
it hasn't. It hasn't.
It actually has. I've just been hesitant to voice my opinion until tonight. Play 3. All right. So this is the toughest call in football. I'm just going to tell you, it's the toughest call in football.
Sweet OPI action.
Nope. This is a face mask on the quarterback running north-south away from the referee and the center judge. All right. So I got my tongue a little bit in my cheek. But bet you we can find, and I bet you if you're honest, anybody who's worked these positions could admit, missed this multiple times. I'm raising my hand. I'm just here to brainstorm. Do you see anything like on this play that just mechanics wise that gives us a chance? So I'm pretty sure that if anybody saw this, they would evaluate this as a face mask, a foul for face mask, right?
That's safe.
Hands up around the mask, grabs, jerks, and just contorts the quarterback in such a way that literally takes 2 steps away from his ability to run. That's a foul. But I don't know. I mean, we just didn't see it. That's probably the issue. So any brainstorming you want to do along with me on how to better evaluate these. I think I've probably missed this like 5 or 6 times, if I'm being honest.
And this is what I love. We'll put this play up in the umpire room or just in a general room and say, I think the umpire really can help on this, because the umpire halfway had the best look at it. But we clearly and consistently say we don't need umpires looking at the ball carrier. We would fuss at umpires, but then on a play like this
especially
happens,
behind the line.
Yeah. Then a play like this happens, and we'll say, "Oh, well, we should get help from the umpire on this." That's just ridiculous.
Right. Okay, so
that
that's like anti-brainstorm.
I know. I don't have.
That's okay.
I have no good answer on that.
The other thing that somebody might say is, well, you need to move to get a better angle.
Yeah. Okay.
Look at how fast. I mean, so he drops back. He goes right away. You're working that block. You're working the very block of the guy that grabs the mask, right?
Right.
As a referee, I think you would be. And since that's the threat to the quarterback, and just, it's away from you. There's just no other way to say it.
Tough thing is this away from the line of scrimmage official that it is closest to as well. Line of scrimmage at the bottom, who will primarily be working the forward progress aspect. The hand is grabbing on the other side of the quarterback's body from that official.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the only thing we can do is, it wouldn't probably help us on this play, but when defenders approach runners, especially with hands out, arms out wide, we just have to kind of pay attention to what happens with those hands. But
yeah,
it's probably every position. I don't know. I know we're trying to get spots from the line of scrimmage. We're trying to work blocks. We're trying to work players. You haven't helped me on my brainstorming crusade here much.
No, I'm just ready to go on to penalty enforcement and clock and all of that on this play, because it's pretty interesting.
All right, let's do that. Well, first of all, you can see the coach has a little something to say.
He has a question
after they call timeout. They've got 3 timeouts.
He has some concerns.
He has some concerns upon the judgment mechanics of the on-field officials. So any thoughts on coach calling timeout and then being that far out on the field and how we're going to handle that before we get to what you want to talk about?
Well, you do what your supervisor tells you to do, but we got to have a little bit of latitude in the fourth quarter situation. In my opinion, this is a good time to put up our disclaimer, but I mean, this is fourth quarter. Dude called the timeout. He clearly has a right to be angry. The quarterback's angry. We probably know we missed it. Let's just have a little bit of latitude and grace with the coach. Now, if he starts acting a complete nut job out there, then we got to deal with it differently. But I mean, I would have a little bit of latitude personally.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Helpful. So what do you got for penalty enforcement? We call it, right? You're saying we call it.
Yeah.
And now this is a similar situation at the end of the game.
Oh yeah.
Defense is winning, I believe.
Yes.
Defense is up by 3. It's 1:20 to play and time's ticking. So we've got this now. We've got this foul. What's next?
I guess we got to enforce it.
Okay.
All right. And we asked our side judge. Actually, the side judge is probably going to volunteer. We don't have to ask him, hopefully. If we're working on a crew with somebody like Corey, we know we're going to get that information. We don't have to ask. We don't have to figure it out. So we'll get clock status. So what we got, Corey?
This is snap. We have a punt play.
Oh,
easy.
That was the last play.
Oh no, I'm sorry. This one. I'm sorry. Running clock. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. So, we got a foul by Team B.
Oh, we under
stop the clock.
We're under 2.
Oh, then we have to have what's the score of the game?
Team B is ahead.
Oh, we got to give them Team B's ahead, so yeah, we have to give them the option. We have a foul by B, they're ahead, so give A the option to put on the snap. I mean, I think we just put on the snap automatically. I think that's kind of a foregone conclusion, but I probably have to ask.
Yeah, I think I like what you said the second time. The first time. I don't think I would ask.
Yeah.
It's Team A's option. I think I would just put it on the snap. just because of the situation with the score, where we are on the field. Maybe I should ask. I don't know. Brandon, do you think you would ask on this? Maybe it's safer to ask.
No.
Just go ahead and just do it.
I would think the only time maybe to ask.
I
We have
personally,
3 timeouts.
me personally, as a referee, I would not go over on this one. Whereas there's some situations I'm fine. I would hope like the line of scrimmage is having a discussion with the team A head coach.
And just tell them, we're going to start this on the snap unless you want us to run the clock.
I like that. I think that's how this should be handled. It's rather obvious that they want time.
Right.
I mean, they want to go down and score a touchdown and win the game. So
now let's say after enforcing the penalty puts it at the B8. Now that's somewhere where I think maybe you'd want, because maybe the offense wants to bleed some time before scoring.
Totally.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I think field position may be a determining factor in this more than anything else.
100%. Yeah.
Right. And that was like that Iowa play where, I mean, maybe they, wouldn't want the 10-second runoff to save as much time to get the ball back and have a chance to score. So
right.
Good. Okay. So now we know the previous spot is the B48 and we're at position, like, I don't know, 1.5, I guess. But we get how these happen, right?
Right.
Hurry up offense. So we're good. We're at position 2 for all intents and purposes, left middle. And, okay, so let's just diagram quickly, just for everybody's. I mean, this is the season, right? Previous spots here. We're going to throw the flag back here. So we got a flag on the ground there by somebody, if we can figure out how to get it. And then, by the way, the end of the run is at the same spot, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, so that's really our reference point. So now what?
Previous spot.
So, okay, well, the run ended here, so I'm just going to walk up to the hash and mark it off.
Nope, you got to go back to position 1.5. Go to position 1.5.
Okay, all right.
We didn't put the ball down in position 1.5, do we?
Well, we kind of did.
No.
No.
I would have I think as the center judge or the umpire would have we're going from right to left. So you'd have your down marker for lateral position on your ring finger. Everybody's looking at their.
Whoa.
What's he talking about? Huh?
Whoa.
Yeah.
How are you going to tell people what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is?
What do you mean?
What is your 1?
Well, it depends on which way we're going. I just map it with which way we're going.
Well, everybody doesn't do that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm back here.
My 1 is always my thumb. I don't care which way we're going.
Dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Wrong. No, it's not.
Okay,
your opinion is wrong.
Wow. Okay, I'm glad we got here. I'm glad we.
1 is 1 in every world. 1 is 1.
Wow. Okay. No. Here's my 5 fingers. I know that's really good. if we're going this way, this is 1.
Obviously.
No.
This is 2,
Absolutely.
which would make this would be my left hand because that's how I do it. This would be on my left hand, which would make my thumb would be 5.
That's crazy. So now you have to think about which one your thumb is, 5 or 1. Absolutely, that's
No,
ridiculous.
it's always.
You don't have to think about the number at all.
It's always on my same hand.
Well, guess what?
Well, you don't have to think about a number because whichever direction your body is facing, the far left is the pinky. You don't have to think about a number. It's on my pinky, so it's on the left hash.
No wonder y'all lose the spot all the time. The thumb is 1, period. Everybody who's listening to this, I'm sorry. Make your thumb 1 every time.
If you use your right hand, the thumb would be 1.
It's always the
and
left
your
hand.
index finger would be 2.
So you switch
using your right
hands,
hand.
Brandon?
I don't switch hands. I switch directions because that's the way the game of football
Because you're
is played.
facing a different direction.
Oh my God. This is the most bizarre conversation I've ever heard in my life.
I think
I can't believe
oftentimes
this.
I'm with you.
oftentimes
I'm with
We
you,
like
too,
to-
Doug.
tell people like just do what
Your
makes
thumb
sense
is
for
1.
you. This is not that scenario. You're doing it wrong.
No. Listen to
Okay.
Corey. Listen to Sergio.
No,
Look
no,
at
no, no,
Bill.
no.
Ignore Bill. Bill has no idea what he's talking about.
Okay, look. If we're going this, if we
Doesn't
reverse
matter.
field, if we
Doesn't
reverse
matter.
field now.
Now your thumb's on the
this
opposite
is my-
side where the ball
and this-
goes.
This is our right hand. This is our right hand. Now my pinky's 1, my ring finger's 2, and my thumb's 5.
His thumb is never 5. That just is idiotic.
If I'm using my left hand, don't you love my drawings of hands? I guess I only have 4 fingers. That's problematic. Now my thumb is 1. If I use my left hand, my thumb is 1, My index finger is 2 because we're going that way. And my pinky is 5. The only absolute is that your middle finger, which I'd like to give you one right now, is 3.
Hey,
That's the only. Oh, sorry. That's the
Okay.
only
true.
absolute.
That is the only absolute.
Okay. I'm about to do something that I'm turning you off. I can't deal with this anymore. Where's screen share? I can't deal. I literally
We
I can't deal with this anymore.
Oh, did we enforce the penalty? I think we
Screen
did.
sharing has been disabled. What is that
Yeah.
about?
That's because I'm screen sharing.
Turn your crap off, man.
We have the foul. We're gonna mark it off right here.
I'll need everybody to go to Google right now and Google which finger is the 5th finger and see what you come up with, and then we'll just continue this discussion afterwards.
That's really interesting. That's really
There's only one
Don't-
finger that's number 5.
don't mark this off from the end of the run. Whatever. Don't listen to him either.
Don't ever listen to Two Tough.
That's amazing.
So dumb.
You just go the way you're going.
You're
Go to
going that
Google.
direct. You literally look at your hand and it tells you which side. You don't even have to think about a number. You don't even have to think about a number.
I know, because the thumb is 1. You're right. I
No,
don't think about anything.
You just said the thumb is 1.
Yes, always, no matter what.
You don't have to do that. You just look at your
Crazy.
hand. Oh, the ball
Crazy.
goes on this side.
Right. Wow, this is crazy. Now there's another technique in the chat. Don't
What's
use
that?
my thumb at all. For the middle, I put it on the 2 middle fingers.
Okay, that Michael Billica's a physicist. We can't follow physicists. I'm sorry.
Wow. I never thought this conversation would lead to this. This is
Yeah, I'm
nuts.
sure it's enthralling for the audience too.
Oh, it is. It is.
Google, just do me a favor, everyone, please.
Stop.
Which
Just
finger
stop.
is the 5th finger? Just Google that for me, and you'll be amazed at what you find. The first
And it will
thing that
help you
comes
with
up.
this conversation. None.
It will
Right.
improve your officiating tremendously. I promise you that. Accuracy of ball spotting will increase exponentially.
Wow. Okay. All right. Let's
All
stay
right, let's
under,
go. Next
let's
play.
stay- Yeah, that
Please,
was
God.
wow. Bottom of the barrel moment in the history of VSG.
But people, learn
Although you
something.
got corrected. So
Yes. Reproved.
all right. So we're still under some good under at the end of the game, end of the half plays here. Process of the catch right near the sideline, right? So we're going to get up to the line. Replay stop the game. All right.
Uh-oh.
So we could do a ton of what ifs. Like, what if the clock was running out here?
Jeez,
How
I know.
mechanics in the booth? I don't know if we have to go into that. But first, let's just nail this catch. And so you guys work these. We talked about how referees are becoming experts on the process of the catch based on last week's outlier play. But what do we see here, and just really kind of fundamental? How do we do this with our eyes?
Well, I mean, these are the ones that we should be practicing at scrimmages right now, during drills. Every team right now is going to be starting practice. They will run a drill that involves a sideline, and most of them do it pregame as well. So this is how we get our eyes adjusted to this. We go to the feet first, we find the ball second, and run our process of the catch. If they're going to the ground, did they maintain contact as they hit the ground? If we just practice that and we don't wait till here comes one of those that I read about and try to do it for the first time in the game, our likelihood for success is kind of a coin flip. So practice these. This is a great month. August is coming up. It's a great month to practice process of the catch and practice.
One thing we got to make sure when we go through process of the catch, we have to think about receivers going to the ground and all of that too. I mean, we can't just stop at firm control body part. There's the third element always exists. And really, that's the one that's most problematic for us.
And especially mechanically, that's the one, if we're not super patient, the one that we rush through, which I guess is only by default because it happens last. So maybe that's not necessarily a revelation. But the reason that we miss these, tell me if you disagree, the reason that we miss these is we start other processes before we finish the entire catch process. We start doing something else before we allow all of that to play out. And oftentimes, if we're evaluating ourselves as we're watching a play, we can because we want to be able to recognize doing that even when we're absolutely 120% right? Deep guys, like we want to recognize when we watch ourselves on film, like, golly, you know what? I moved on to the next thing there. And even though this thing was correct, it really wasn't all the way complete or concluded when I moved on to the next thing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So on these, what we do is we just start going to the next thing, whether that's getting the spot, whether that's doing something related to dead ball, whether that's signaling touchdown or signaling incomplete even, without allowing all of this to play out and have this super robust and kind of holistic picture of everything that just happened, where I could just explain every element of this action to you if you asked it to me after the play. And that's from a mechanical perspective, and we can see it there. That's where we really end up kind of letting ourselves down, I think.
So once you run us through this, how you would hope to evaluate this, Daniel, on the field?
If I'm the side judge, or if I'm officiating the play, or if that's me, and I'm just kind of
if you're officiating the play.
Yeah. So just really what I would really like to do is if I'm in the position of the deep wing and all of this is unloading at my feet, I want to have a sense that even though we're really in great position here, I think as this is happening, we're nice and wide, but it's still happening relatively close to us. So that's a really great indicator that I need to kind of make sure that I'm slowing my thinking down and allowing all of this to happen before I start to move. And really simply, if I'm the deep wing, who again is in fantastic position, I just want my vision to see my eyes and my head follow this player all the way to the ground and stay with him through what maybe just a casual observer would say is really a little bit excessive, right? I want to be so deliberate that I'm watching all of this unfold before I get to the place where I make a decision. Mm-hmm. You have to practice that, because your old brain will make a decision subconsciously before you're ready to make a conscious decision oftentimes. So it's really just about being physically slow, because that will help you be mentally slow, and then allowing all of this to unfold, and then make a decision, and then signal and do whatever else we think we need to do is appropriate.
This is just a great preseason play, Corey. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, obviously we don't make the right decision here at the deep wing. We just don't. I think we stop halfway through, our catch process. We stop halfway through there, and sometimes that happens. So, is there anyone else that can help? Do you think that Daniel, from the back judge position, do you think you can say, hey, you know what, that ball was loose? Y'all see that? Or, the line of scrimmage, you're coming down. Maybe you can see that. Is there any way that we could possibly get this right before, starting the replay process?
That's a great question. I think the line of scrimmage official is going to have a really tough time, because this guy, the way the receiver snatches this ball after it pops out of his possession is really pretty slick. So I don't know that the line of scrimmage official will have a sense that the ball came out. I think you bring up a great question about the back judge. And it's hard to say, just based upon where we are in the field definitively and how quick it pops out and then goes back in, that I would see it or not. Here's what I would say, though, is I would love – because if the ball comes out this quick, I mean, this is just very a pretty clear-cut case of us going to the ground and not surviving the ground, right?
Yep.
Like, there's not a lot of mystery here. That's just what happens. So if this happens and I see that ball get jarred loose, I'm coming over immediately and communicating to the deep wing what I have. And this is really one of those situations, as we talk about how do we work through sometimes these tougher conversations, where I don't really need a lot of input from him. I can just tell him flat out, hey, listen, the receiver hit the ground and the ball popped out when he was out of bounds. This is an incomplete pass. And as a back judge, if I can bring that information and help us get this right all the way on the sideline, I'm feeling really, really good about this. I don't know how the other 184 snaps went, but I'm feeling really good about the way I officiated this one. That's a good point. And that's something, I think, Corey, to your point, that I really want to be cognizant of on these catches by the sideline, right? Because most of the time I'm going to get over there in time to officiate the end of that, even though it's not my area of responsibility, right? I'm not right there on it.
we know that as deep officials, we're going to the receiver when the ball's in the air for a multitude of different reasons. So that's really something I need to be thinking about as that off official is, oh shoot, he's going to the ground. So here's all of the things that are relevant to that. So I think that's a great point.
From a replay standpoint, I wonder if this could be, because this seems pretty quick, pretty obvious pretty quickly, if this could be one of those where we could not have to go the headset type of plays. That we could do this over O2.
Yeah,
Possibly.
Corey, we talked about those
go ahead.
as a group this weekend. I don't know how other groups are going to handle it, but in CFO West, we are going to use the phrase hold for reversal. And hold for reversal basically means that the ruling on the field is going to be changed, and we have all of the information immediately available to us, and we know we're going to reverse it. If it's going to stand, or we need to or confirm, or we need to just look at it more, we don't use hold for reversal. We only use that if we have a situation where we know we're going to reverse, and that would be this play right here. This is really obvious. Really quickly, we have all the information at our disposal.
Okay, good to know.
And then just practice on that. Because you got to get back to the previous spot.
Correct. And we'll get all that information as, the referee would just basically say the ruling on the field of a catch has been reversed. I don't know. I got to figure out all my phrasing and all that stuff. But
just return the ball to the previous spot, and then don't let them forget the clock here, because the clock actually runs a couple seconds excessively from 121 down to 119. So I think we would want to reset that. Don't you agree?
Right. Absolutely. In this situation, we definitely want to reset it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're under two. Obviously, we know under two of second and fourth quarter. Basically, that's the new rule change. It used to be 5 and 2. 2 and 5, but now it's 2 and 2.
Oh, really?
So,
nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So we definitely want to fix this clock. And Sergio is correct. Great job. This is what the replay communicator's job is. His job is not to be looking at the screen while the replay official is going back looking at stuff. Your job, his or her job in the booth as a communicator is to be the radio commentator. They're at the line. Snap is imminent, and then we got to hurry up and shut this game down if we're going to take a look at the play.
Such a great point. And really that's where, put this with time, because we're going to wind this clock, right? First down, it should be in bounds. Wind the clock. His knee was down in bounds. So we're going to wind the clock out of this first down. And, now put this like as the clock's going to 0, is the snap going to get off or not? There's specific mechanics there that we can save for another time.
Wait, hold on, Brandon. Let's not drive by that. Because this is a situation where I struggled. We had 2 in one game at the end of the second quarter and fourth quarter, where it was a first down at the boundary, and the ruling on the field had the players inbounds, and I did not communicate well with the line of scrimmage officials. I just assumed that the player was out of bounds. So I went on a snap on both plays, and it was supposed to be on a ready on both. So I would love to know from Corey, how did they manage these on their crews when we have a close sideline play, the line to gain is reached, but we're going to go on a ready for play? How do you communicate that?
How do I say that again? Because I kind of lost you a little bit.
Yeah. So here we go. We have a first down. We know we're going to stop the clock because it's the first down. We also are under 2 minutes. The player ends up out of bounds, but your ruling is that the player was in bounds beyond the line to gain. So we're going to wind the clock. How do you clearly communicate that with the referee so the referee doesn't assume that we're just stopping it because the player's out of bounds? I'm
just, I'm on the O2, but I also give a pretty pronounced, hand signal. It's not just like a twirling of a finger. It's a full-fledged, not a full-fledged like wind the clock like we would for you guys at the ready for play. But, he's going to know it that we're on the ready for play. And I'll also let him know, hey, David, the catch was completed in bounds. We are on the ready.
Good.
So he knows why it's on the ready, because I'll give him that information.
Right. I think that's really, really, really important because I'm telling you, as a referee, Brandon, we see the quarterback got hit on this play. So we're worried about the quarterback. We look up, all of a sudden, dude is killing the clock. Well, guess what? The receiver's getting up from out of bounds. So all we see is a spot, and we see a receiver who's way out of bounds. Well, shoot, it's really easy as a referee to assume that this is a play that ended up out of bounds.
You got to ask the status. We have to be asking the status, and then as verbalizingly as we can, as loudly as we can, be telling everybody what we're doing with the clock.
There you go.
And we don't look. We do want to be precise here. You know, I can hear maybe some people thinking, well, I mean, his butt hits out of bounds just after his knee. Well, that's the point. I mean, his knee's down in bounds, right? That he's down by rule in bounds in the field of play. So this is going to be a clock on the ready for play, and we don't. You know, the expectation is to be precise on this. Absolutely be precise on this. All right. Anything else? This is such a good play, I think, for just visualization of working the play, from working a catch of a player going to the ground for that timing, and then, going through all these what ifs, like, okay, you know, I am going to want to be precise with that knee down in bounds if he maintains control. So I want to be precise on my ruling of him in bounds here. How am I going to communicate that? You can go through all of these steps in your own mind, and certainly with our crews as we get ready for the season. Great play. All right. Okay, here we go. Man, my job on the controls tonight has been masterful.
Well, it took you 3 weeks, but you're getting better.
All right. All right. Now this play. So here we go. Play 5. This is it. This is the last play.
Boy.
We're gonna see 3 angles, but the angles are all gonna run continuously. So in other words, this is a line feed angle. This is what we see on TV. This is just gonna run through this whole sequence, and then we're gonna have the cart cam that's a little bit lower to the field of play and gives us a different perspective. That's just going to run through the same sequence. Then we're going to have the end zone view, the sky cam, and that's going to run through the whole sequence. Okay. And then it'll loop because we have a lot to talk about.
What is about?
Yeah, this is crazy. Look at the time, right? We're late in the half again. And I think the message is clear. When stuff happens, it's late in the half. Mm-hmm. So we had a result of the play as a first down. Team A substituted. You see 84 lined up in the slot there? He didn't play the last play. Team A substituted. The officials kind of went into sub mechanics. So watch when we get to the cart cam angle, watch them change players. Yeah.
Which is bizarre.
Right.
Kind of a weird half attempt from our officials. And this is awkward. I've been here for sure. This is awkward. Once the defense saw that the offense substituted, guess what they did? They tried to match up, because really this should have been a running clock.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've been doing all night here on this session, is down in bounds for a first down. Clock has to eventually start, right? And if they choose to substitute, they have really bought whatever kind of delay they're going to get out of whether it's just the officials holding up play or the defense matching. Okay. So then it gets bizarre. I mean, to me, it gets kind of bizarre. And I know that when we're in these situations, we are really stressed out in how we make decisions. So not too clear on how we arrived at what we did, which is whatever. But let's talk about where this all started and where this kind of, I guess if it's not too harsh, where this kind of went wrong. Because I'm pretty sure nobody working this game or us watching and learning from it, we don't want to replicate this. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
I don't think we want to replicate this. So I'll just tell you I'll spill the beans on where it kind of went wrong to me, and then you guys go from there. So as this ends up looping again after the quarterback spikes it out of the sky cam, we'll get back to the line feed, and everybody can get kind of reset on how this all transpired. And that will be happening for me as I keep talking here shortly. All right, so my camera is back on the line feed. So basically, it's 2nd and 7. We're going to throw for a first down. All right, now, whoever spots the ball needs to put this ball down, thinking they're probably going to spike it, but also what? Needs to look at the referee, all right? Needs to look at the referee. So that's true if it's the umpire. That's true if it's the center judge. I think, unfortunately, we kind of just backed out after we put the ball down, and then it just got us into a situation where the substitution process wasn't managed as well as it could have. We had to then reset the clock, which was kind of decision 47 in the sequence of a lot of decision making here. we reset the clock, we kind of restarted it, then we tried to hold them up again, and then they spiked it. So, I just want to kind of leave you with this, man. The umpires aren't all that used to managing the substitution process anymore. This is why I've always advocated, and I think I'm probably in the minority on this, though, that let's let the center judge manage the substitution process if we need to. In other words, be active up here and just run up here, take it upon yourself to run up and prevent the snap if we can, when we know that team A subbed, and that would have hopefully helped us out here. But there's a lot of nuance here that I'd like to hear from you guys on.
Well, the first thing that stands out to me is, number one, we didn't wind the clock, I think, when we probably should have initially. And then I guess the question I have for you and Tuta, because y'all do this much more than I ever will, when the defense finally substitutes, that seems like an awful long time after the substitute window had closed. And so at what point do you say, no, that's on the defense now, but it seems like we kind of reopened the window, if you will?
Yeah, Corey, I was wondering the same thing, but I also wondered if, and again, I mean, Tuja can speak to this. I also wondered if we clearly feel just uncomfortable. I feel like that's what it looks like about this whole process. I wonder if we felt like we closed it too soon and then never really took a look, you know what I mean, to confirm that Team B, because this is pretty quick, to confirm that Team B wasn't substituting, and they kind of felt like, oh crap, we didn't really give them the full opportunity. I don't know, but I think your question is still valid.
Yeah, I think the window in this situation, it wasn't closed all open. I think it was shattered, and we had to try to piece the window back together. Then the Team B started subbing, so we were just all jacked up, I think. One thing, Daniel, I would love to ask you, what do you tell the back judges on plays like this? And I mean, the play clock operator, plays like this, are they instructed not to run the play clock? I know this is Brandon's favorite topic. I'm scared he's going to grab the soapbox.
Yeah.
What are they supposed to do with the play clock on this?
No, I tell them to run the play clock. Just run the play clock. If we've got a live clock, run the play clock. Just do it that way that's what I tell them. You're saying, what do we? I don't know. But that's what I communicate to the guys. Just run the play clock.
Because because Corey, you mentioned we got to wind the clock. Well, this is a ball that's down in the middle of the field. When the play clock gets to, I would say this is the way I would handle this. And this is the fifth thing I learned from Brandon, because I'm still counting. I got to admit that. Jeez. The fifth thing I learned from Brandon. Right around 32 is when we want to wind this clock back up. Or if the offense snaps the ball prior to that, we would wind it once they snap it. So those are the two kind of guidelines I would use for a first down in the middle of the field when the clock will wind back up.
Okay.
But we don't have a 32 because the play clock never ran. So now we got to sit here and try to figure out, okay, when am I going to wind the clock? And that decision is exacerbated by the fact that we had a screw up with the substitution.
Yep.
So now we got to wind it, but we can't wind it when we have this convoluted substitution process, because we could end up standing here with 16 seconds running the whole clock out while we figure out this. This really just turned into it's a difficult situation that we just have to handle better.
Yeah, and that's one of the big reasons I just asked them to run the clock in case we need to use it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Now, Daniel, do you ever tell them that, okay, if we wind the clock back up, that they reset it to 40? Or do they usually let it keep it running the whole time like regular? Because I know our back judge tells them differently.
Tells them, I'm sorry, ask that again, Corey.
Okay, in this play, yes, we want them to start that because the game clock is dead at the moment that the play clock should start. But once the play clock starts running again, and the game clock is less than the play clock, you instruct the play clock operator to then halt the countdown of the play clock or just keep it going.
Yeah, no, I don't. No, I don't. I just, that level of direction to the play clock operator would make me a little bit nervous. Really, whether or not I'm going to communicate it accurately to them. So I just tell them, really. And then the other thing I'm thinking about is,
look, man, just let me make this simple for you. Run the play clock.
Right.
Right. I love that, Daniel.
Yeah, I do too.
You know what I mean?
Simplicity to it.
And, you know, I mean, look, guys, we've all dealt with play clock operators, and look, they're important to our game, and we want them to feel like they're valued members of the crew. I really believe that. And so that's kind of one of the intricacies they like to, I'll be honest, I think sometimes show off, you know, that, well, I won't run it at once the clock's running. And I said, look, I get it. I do. Do me a favor. Just run the play clock for me. Just run the play clock for me. Even if the clock is running, I get it. I understand where you're coming from. I'll be the weirdo that wants you to do that, but I've got some logic behind it. So I'm just asking you to trust me and kind of do what I need you to do.
Yeah. Because this is a situation where we need that play clock.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, we got to figure out when we're going to wind this clock back up. And obviously, in this situation, with the offense subbing, we're going to wind the clock while holding the snap up. So this is going to get very uncomfortable real quick for the offense. But that's not our fault. Our job is not to figure out their strategies. They decided to sub. We didn't decide to sub.
That's right.
I know different conferences have different mechanics on spotting the ball and holding up the quarterback. So that's something that we need to be sensitive to as well. I think this is the Pac-12, and I think the umpires do more holding up of the offense than the center judges do. So that's something, you know, however your conference manages that.
Sure.
Yeah, you need to figure that out, you know, with whatever your conference does. You know, every conference guidelines, maybe different conferences have different guidelines. So that's something else to consider.
Yeah. So what about, you know, what do you think, Tuta? Here we just kind of got in a hurt, because I know, you know, as a back judge, sometimes guys are surprised when I suggest that I really want to be involved in the substitution process, not necessarily managing it. I think the referee and center judge are managing it, but I want to be involved and at bare minimum aware. And so when Team A subs, this was pretty slick. I really want to catch that. If I don't, I'm going to see the umpire come up and the referee go out into the Iron Cross. And that's when I really turn my attention to the defense.
Right.
So I guess my point is, for us who maybe aren't managing the process, let's have an awareness of those matchups. And this one's a tough, because I think we get out of it a little early and then we start to match up. But if we're getting to the end of that window and we see activity by the defense and we feel like maybe the yard is coming down and that defender, you know, don't be afraid to get on there and let the crew know that we're matching up, because, you know, referees are often really appreciative of that. Just like a heads up, if it's late in that window, then maybe we're getting ready to come down, and then the defense, because we got to understand we're out there, but the defense has a window, right? It's not this immediate thing. And even if they come in late on that, now they have an obligation relative to how they match up, but that's not really what we're talking about here. It's giving them that entire window that they have the right to by rule.
Correct. I think the first part is recognizing the matchup. And I think it's really easy for us not to recognizing a sub. It's really easy for us not to recognize this sub, because who in the world subs in a situation like this? And we could easily just, you know, the rest of us not pay attention to that.
Right. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. One thing I do, you know, on our crew, my radio is always wide open. So yeah. In this situation, I wouldn't only be in the Iron Cross. I would be yelling sub. So either Bill and or our center judge, Dan, one of them two or both of them would be running up to stop this ball from being snapped, to hold the offense up. And then we can just deal with the rest of that crap with the time and all that other stuff. Hopefully, I would recognize the play clock. If the play clock ain't running, I would just say, okay, I counted to about 8. Let me start winding this clock back up. And then we're going to have to deal with the coach yelling and screaming about why we winding the clock and why won't we let him snap. And then we could talk about that afterwards. But the first thing is recognizing the sub, which is weird in this situation.
So what about like what's our recourse here? Do we have anything you'd like to do different once like we kind of what happens here? Does A call timeout? Or do
no, they spiked the ball, and it seemed like we let them spike the ball, which was weird because they kind of snapped it while the umpire was still holding them in a way.
Yeah.
This was just one you want to hurry up and let these last 16 seconds run off the clock and run to the locker room and hope nobody sees you. Because I mean, I don't know what we can do at that point in time. You know, the shoot everything. What is it? The whatever's out the coop. The chickens are out the coop. It's kind of hard to get them back in now. We're just in a bad situation.
Yeah. Really, really good play example. Like, man, these are the kinds of things I think sometimes as we prepare for the start of the season, you know, even Mr. Burks made a comment about like spending time talking about, okay, holding behind the line of scrimmage, all that stuff's important, but like these are the things that really, when we mess up, are really amplified. And these are the things I think there's tremendous value, especially within crew scenarios, to go through these kinds of things and be prepared for them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We don't spend as much time talking about them, and they can catch you off guard and they can just mess up a good ball game. That's
right.
For sure.
Right. And we don't get these in scrimmages. We get all the scrimmage plays all day long. We get hold, just like you said, we get hold and Daniel all day long in scrimmages. We get catch no catch all day long in scrimmages. We don't get 2-minute drill with a late sub and then a weird defensive matchup with a clock running and a play clock not running, and we don't get tested like that.
That's right.
Scrimmages.
That's right.
Well, all right.
Right. That was fun.
Yeah, another one in the books. This was really cool because, you know, all the plays were really end of half type situations.
Yeah.
So, this is a really good one to start getting our brains prepped for end of half situations that are coming up in about a month from now, huh, Corey?
That's right. 39 days.
Right.
There you
That's
go.
Right. Those situational awareness, right? And that just require a tremendous amount of focus.
Yes.
That's what we're here for. So good stuff. Thanks, guys. It was fun.
Right. Yep.
Thanks to the community.
Thanks to the community is right.
It's fun
Everybody
seeing
have a
you
great
last
night.
weekend. All right. See you.
All right. Later.
See you.